Hi everybody, welcome to a new edition of Let's Talk About Education with Antonio Corrales. We have talked previously in this show about the academic components of an educational program at a university level or a school district. We have talked about what does it mean to have different roles within an organization. We have never talked in depth about what does it mean to be in charge of the operational side of a school district. What does it work? What are the implications of it? Well, today we have the honor to have with us Dr. Thomas Cothern, who is a seasoned educator, university professor, and somebody who had the opportunity within his career to be in charge of the operational side of a school district. Tom, thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Why don't we start by letting you introduce yourself to the audience and kind of letting them know how do you get to where you are in your career?
Okay. First of all, I'm married. I have 4 children. From a personal standpoint, I always have to include them. Professionally, I taught for 6 years and became an assistant principal at the largest high school in the district, and I served in that capacity for 2 years, and was fortunate to become principal of Southside Middle School, or junior high school, and served in that capacity for 10 years.
And this was in Louisiana?
Yes,
okay.
In Louisiana. We had a fairly large district, probably 26,000 students.
Wow, okay.
And I served in that capacity for 10 years, and in a lot of ways, I believe that to be the most rewarding, but yet the most challenging role or job that I performed in the district.
Being in charge of the high school?
Of the middle school, junior high.
The middle school, junior high.
And
why so?
You know, just being a principal. I think being a principal is the toughest job in education.
Really demanding, really taxing.
It is demanding, and it is very taxing. And while I was there, I started working and was asked to work as one of 8 facilitators for Project Lead at the time. And that program allowed me to work with, in a particular region in the state, allowed me to work with principals during their first and second year on the job. I also taught some adjunct courses for Southeastern Louisiana University, and you know, I developed a passion really for teaching and working with those individuals who wanted to become school administrators. And so I did that, you know, while I was a principal and a supervisor at the school board office. And after 10 years as principal, you know, I moved to the central office administration side of things. While I was at Southside Junior High School, I have to say and give credit where credit is due. Certainly it was not a one-man show by any means. I had some outstanding assistant principals in my faculty. Bar none, I think I had the best faculty in the district. And so we were able to do a lot of good things there. But I moved on as director of curriculum, served in that capacity for 2 years, and then moved back into the curriculum side of things. I was instructional supervisor for middle schools and our district's testing coordinator for 5 years. And then I was promoted to director of curriculum, served in that capacity for 2 years, and then became assistant superintendent. Served there for 5 years, and
assistant superintendent of curriculum,
of the operational side.
The operational side.
Yes, okay. Sir. And so you know, I was able to enjoy that position. And when I was 52 years of age, I began to look down the road and decided that, you know, I was probably getting ready to retire from public education at the pre-K 12 level, and I went back to school and began to work on my doctorate. And I always had in the back of my mind from those days when I worked with Project Lead and taught those courses for Southeastern that one day I would like to become a teacher at a university. And I applied for it and was blessed to get the job here at University of Houston Clear Lake, and very, very pleased and thankful that I was able to do that.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that, before we get into the question, one thing that I always, and I have told you this personally, that I admire from your career is that you were able to grow within the same organization, and that, honestly, in my experience, that's extremely hard. Yeah. You see that a lot of people tend to get promoted by jumping to different organizations.
From one district to the other.
So, just to share a little bit about that with the audience, what were, number one, what were the challenges that you confronted while trying to grow within the same organizations, and what are some advices you may give to some of our core administrators looking at us right now, trying to continue growing within education, and some tips if they want to do it within the same school district?
Well, I think there are advantages to staying in the same district. People get to know who you are. They get to know the job that you do, and you don't have to continually reestablish yourself. Once you have a good reputation, I believe that carries and follows you, throughout your career. I guess a con to that is they also see the mistakes that you make, and and how you handle those mistakes. And I think everybody has made mistakes from time to time, and so it is a situation where I believe that they become more familiar with you, since you've been there, and they know the type person you are and the job that you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, now going back to the operational side of a school district, a lot of our viewers right now, maybe school principals, maybe current superintendent, or maybe people in central office, they're starting to think, okay, I may be interested in the operational side of the district. Mm-hmm. And for our viewers who have no idea what we're talking about basically about transportation, technology, even school finance. We're talking about infrastructure facilities. Right. So what can you tell us a little bit about the role of an assistant principal of operations in a large school district?
Well, the assistant superintendent, the role that I served, you're correct. You are predominantly concerned with the daily operation of various departments that are contained there at the central office. Which I really enjoyed. I believe my strength is on the curricular end or side of administration, and so I was able to work fairly closely with the business department, the transportation, the maintenance departments, the curriculum department, and so I thoroughly enjoyed that. And it's not that I did not have responsibilities with the schools in the district, but it was more from administering the daily operation of those departments.
Mm-hmm. How do you day by day look like? Because a lot of our viewers may wonder. Usually, when you're a school principal, you take care of a building. You have to do your walkthroughs and make sure that the facilities are correctly, that the custodian have the appropriate supplies. But when you're, we're talking about such a large school district with almost 30,000 students. We're talking about almost like the size of a corporation. And so, what are, in your opinion, the keys to run the operational size of a district effectively? Because you have to deal with, like I said, transportation, HR, finances. And what, in your experience, what were the keys to do that successfully?
I think the first key is the people you hire. I think you have to hire exceptional individuals in all capacities, and it's very important at the central office level that the right people be placed in those positions. Generally speaking, they are the ones who are dealing with a lot of the things that are occurring within that department. They would come to me for advice, or if there was a problem situation that needed to be rectified. So my position was more monitoring the things that were occurring in those departments.
The different departments, yeah.
And I dealt mainly with the individuals, the supervisors or directors who were in charge of those particular departments. And, we would discuss their thoughts about where they wanted to go with the program and problems they may be encompassing, and possible solutions for those problems.
Such a large district, in mind that you don't have the opportunity to micromanage. You have to macromanage in terms of checking goals, make sure that they have the appropriate resources to comply. Now, what about the, and this is a little bit of HR in there, but what about the training and documentation for employees? Do you feel that it was the same approach than dealing with teachers, or it varies a little bit?
There's a lot of similarities.
Okay.
I believe that professional development is a key to and the impetus for district and school improvement. First of all, you want to make certain that the professional development that you provide is something that is sustainable and is something that is needed at those levels or in those departments. And it's interesting that there are a lot of different views, I think, about the importance of professional development, but for me, it was always the way to better yourself, to improve. Find those areas that are not necessarily your strengths and work towards improving those areas. So it's very similar to the school level. The needs are different, but the process is pretty much the same.
What about the dynamic with the school board? Because from an instructional perspective, I think a lot of our viewers are highly familiarized that presenting data, reporting standardized testing. But what about the relationship with the school board in terms of the operational side?
You definitely want a positive relationship with those folks on the school board. I think the hardest thing for me to realize was that their interests lie predominantly with their section of the school district.
Their constituents, their area.
Their constituents, they're the voters and students in their particular areas. But from my standpoint, and I guess any superintendent, assistant superintendent standpoint, our concern was for the totality of all of our students. Sometimes whenever you are viewing what you think is in their best interest, it may not necessarily be what that board member thinks
Right.
is in the best interest of the students in their district. So, you want to have a positive relationship. You can get more accomplished if you're all on the same page and moving the district forward in a positive direction.
Another aspect is that we see some of our principals and some of our central office people that are in the instructional side of the spectrum is making the connection between the operational side and students, because they see them. One of the mistakes in organization that you see, or one of the threats that you see, is that people tend to think that there are two different organizations, that the operations run by itself when the instruction run by itself. Can you kind of give a little thoughts about that?
It all works hand in hand, and hopefully the end result is the betterment of the school system and the education that you're providing for your students. The operational side I enjoyed a lot, because I was able to be involved in financial aspects of in considerations, and also look at the curricular aspects along with the other departments. But those two areas I took a great interest in. When you stop to think that 89 to 90% of the budget that a district receives is spent solely on salaries and benefits, that does not leave a lot of money after all of those individuals have been paid and all of that has been paid. Doesn't leave a lot of money for the educational program side of the district. But so you have to make wise decisions pertaining what you're going to do with the money that is left over, I guess, after you pay salaries and benefits. So it's it's an important decision, and important decisions that are made, and I always enjoy having a hand in doing that and impacting what was occurring in the schools from that aspect, as opposed to dealing with parents and students and those kinds of things.
Yeah, and one thing that like I said, like I respect a lot for your career, is that you were able to be in both sides of the spectrum, instructional and operational side. Now, from the philosophical standpoint, how do you see the future of public education within the next years? What is your vision?
Well, I think, unfortunately, there are those who are very critical of public education this day. I'm a public education person. I enjoy working with public schools. I believe that this country was founded on education, public education of the masses. And, we've been able to accomplish things as a nation that, far supersede that of other countries. And so I believe that this country was founded on public education. And I think that, we need the support of our legislators. We need the support of the communities. We need the respect that, other professions, I think, are given. It's been said that teaching is the noblest of professions, and, I believe that. And, we're responsible for providing our students with the best education, the best quality education possible. And, the end result is, we're responsible for preparing them to be successful in life. And so while I believe that public education is getting I guess, a bad rap in some ways. You know, I think improving our profession is within our own hands. And, you know, we are the professionals, and we have the knowledge and regarding pedagogy and you know, trying to do the best job that we can. And so I think eventually, you know, that those efforts will be recognized by all of the stakeholders.
That is fantastic. Well, I want to thank you one more time.
Well, thank
Dr.
you for
Cothern.
having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to tell my viewers out there that remember that we have this interview and many others in Antonio Corrales' YouTube channel. Let's talk about education with Antonio Corrales and Sterling Evaluation and Assessment.com. Please help somebody today, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.